it's a cliche, and it's a, for many it's an overstated statement, but it's also the most underlooked statement, which is that have that long term view. Many founders cannot survive 1 year mark, 2 year mark, and they think it's the end of all. But as one of the most successful entrepreneurs said, every overnight success comes like in one day, after like 4 years, 5 or 6 years of grinding and putting value into the business.
Hey everybody, Tanner here with WAGMI Ventures. On today's episode, we have Andrew Choi, founder and CEO of SuperNormal and general partner at Factorial Funds. For anyone who's new, this is the WAGMI Ventures podcast, where we do snapshots with interesting founders from across Web3. Check out wagmiventures.io to learn more about the syndicate behind the podcast. But for now, let's get into it with Andrew Choi. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm here today with Andrew Choi, founder and CEO of SuperNormal and general partner at Factorial Funds. Andrew, how's it going today?
Doing great, Tanner. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to chat here.
Likewise.
You have a super interesting background across some really important companies, and you're doing a couple different things now. So maybe tell us a little more about your story professionally and what brought you to building what you're building and investing in the way you're investing.
Yes. So I come from a fully engineering and technical background in Silicon Valley for over 6 years now. I graduated from University of Waterloo in Ontario with a computer engineering degree, and then grew up in Vancouver, Canada, and also in South Korea when I was younger. And then when I graduated from University of Waterloo, I was recruited to Silicon Valley companies like BlackBerry, which was my first company, and then IBM, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and Microsoft, as a software developer, as a software engineer, working at things like systems infrastructure, front end, back end, iOS, Android, pretty much all across the engineering stack. And then my latest gig as a software engineer was tech lead at Coinbase, which was in San Francisco. So after I left Coinbase, I started a new venture called SuperNormal back in February of 2022, which grew exponentially to be the largest and number one top selling NFT brand in South Korea. And then alongside that, I run a fund alongside my partner called Factorial Funds, where we backed the most innovative tech and crypto companies around the world. So that's a TLDR. I'm looking forward to chatting.
Perfect. Love it. So let's maybe start with SuperNormal. In my reading, I discovered there's actually several components to SuperNormal, but in your own words, how would you define what SuperNormal is?
Yeah, so in my own words and in our founder's own words, SuperNormal is a premier art-driven, art narrative Web3 brand. And we focus on incubating the most talented and underrated illustrators and artists around the world, with an emphasis on providing as much value back to our community as possible. And we do this by putting premium art first, and then also focusing on bridging digital and Web3 component to actually tangible Web2 industry models that are proven.
Love it. Very cool. So one of the most distinctive things I think you noticed at first is those kind of subdivisions, as they're called on your website, between NFT, Atelier, Couture, Editions, and Metaverse. So one thing I'm always particularly curious about is this evolution of a vision from kind of finding one's way from the initial thing that gets traction towards a fuller expression of the identity of that thing. So can you talk a little bit about that evolution in SuperNormal's case, how you thought about evolving it beyond where it started to where it is today?
Yeah, so in February of 2022, we did start very small, but with a very grand vision. We started off with 8,888 PFPs of premier art drawn by famous South Korean illustrator Zipsy. And then that grew to be our main intellectual property, IP, across every business vertical that we have across NFT, atelier, couture, editions, and metaverse. And our grand vision was that we sort of like Disney and Marvel and Warner Brothers, we start with these PFP IPs, which is by the way considered one of the most high-end art in the NFT space, and use and leverage these IPs to expand across metaverse, which can come in the form of the big metaverse platforms like, Decentraland, Sandbox, NFT Worlds, World Wide Weblands, all the way to like fashion and couture, such as our in-house fashion design team, to partnerships with big fashion brands like it can be anything, Dior, Louis Vuitton, etc. So our goal and our ambition is that we grow this premium IP that we started as SuperNormal Genesis and expand that into our 5 verticals that both our community and both non-crypto native people are able to enjoy.
Very cool. Love it. Can you tell us a little about how the team behind SuperNormal is structured? And I ask because with such a kind of wide-spanning set of ambitions, I wonder whether there's any unique unlocks from the tools available in Web3 from really like an org structure or an org management perspective.
Yeah, so the founding team is composed of me. My name is Andrew Choi. Fully from a technical background in Silicon Valley, and then Zipsy, who's our chief illustrator and chief artist, coming from South Korea with history of partnerships and collaborations with big companies like Disney, Marvel, Netflix, and some of the biggest Korean entertainment companies, and then Joe, who is a senior executive at a Canadian fintech company. So we come from a diverse background of marketing, engineering, technical, as well as the creativity and art side. And then our engineering team is composed of mainly smart contract and blockchain and Solidity developers, as well as our full stack developer, who is also a very much jack of all trades, such as doing design work and running his own fashion business previous to SuperNormal. So yes, so he and our team have that advantage of being capable of not just in depth of a couple things, but a big breadth of multi disciplines.
Love it. Yeah. So I'm curious personally how your kind of clear love of beautiful artwork came to pass, because really not so much your professional journey on this one, but more of your kind of creative journey. So for your taste, like what were some of the milestones along that journey, and who were some of your major influences along the way as you consider how that taste came to be?
So this is from an art perspective?
Yeah, from an art perspective, in the collaboration with Zipsy, or just even looking at your Twitter. I mean, it seems like you really do appreciate the art. Like it's kind of the joke, but in reality, where it's like it seems like you really take the art seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a great question, because we started off. We started with Zipsy, who is, as I introduced before, one of the most celebrated and reputable illustrator in Korea and Asia. So she, and so that was she is our chief illustrator, and for our next collection, which is called Dream Girls. So that is with an illustrator called KYE, or Gyu-yong in South Korean. He is much more quote unquote aggressive in the illustration style. So the common thing across our illustrators and partner illustrators that we work with is that they started off with Web 2 and traditional art, and coming into NFTs was not a second nature for them, meaning that they used to draw for things that are non-NFT related. And then we invited them to the Web3 journey so that they can get more exposure and have more revenue stream for themselves. So another common theme across them is their drawing is regarded very premium, very detailed, very intricate, and very, 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 for the lack of words, for the lack of better terms, very grandiose. For example, Zipsy, she actually had a first major hit series called Touch, and the Touch series portrays like moments of closeness in a cute couple's life, and she manages to capture the intense feeling of falling in love, and she depicts a illustration where the couple cannot stand being apart and enjoy every little moment together. So her theme is more around human emotions, love, amorous relationships, and the human interactions. KYE on the other side, his illustration style is much more aggressive, much more surreal. And the proportions of his artwork is much more like fantasy and surreal. So I think that allowing the illustrator and the artist as they come into NFT space to be the best version of themselves and be as creative as possible in their own ways is the basis that I want to set out so that we can get the best product out there. Always strategically prioritize things based on the criteria of how do we put most value back into the holders, such as our new NFT collection, such as new product launches, such as new Web2 offline business launches, etc. So with have a theme for SuperNormal, which that was Korean culture and premium art, and then your target should be putting the holders at first.
Love it. Okay, so what does your team understand about IP in 2023 or even in 2022 that others may not perceive or recognize as important, or even as once important but not important anymore?
Yeah, I think what's going to be very important with regards to IP in the Web3 space in 2023 is how to best leverage your intellectual property without diluting your IP and your brand. But at the same time, you don't want to be too conservative. You don't want to be too cautious in that you're not innovating, in that you're not being aggressive, in that you're not being, attacking for, the best, opportunities out there. So it's really hard to find a right balance. And, a lot of the NFT brands out there are too, either are too liberal or either they're too conservative when it comes to, making a new product, making a new NFT, making a new collection. So for SuperNormal, our IP expansion is very strategic, such that, if a big, Web2 company comes to SuperNormal and wants to work with us, we want to make sure that it's aligned with our universe, with our vision of SuperNormal's universe. But at the same time, we don't want to abuse that. We never abuse that in a way that there's going to be too many NFTs out there. That's going to make the whole ecosystem diluted. But at the same time, it's important to it's important to innovate and attack the space.
Super interesting, yeah. So you referenced the importance and kind of the primacy of putting the community first. So what have you been learning about the SuperNormal community, what they value, and how they like to get involved? Where I guess I'm curious, like what are people most excited about and engaged with?
Yeah, so I would say for SuperNormal, we're in a very fortunate position where we're composed of mostly collectors and high-end, collectors who love art. starting with people who love Zipsy's art, people who love Gyu-young's art. His name is KYE in English. People who love our future artists that we're going to incubate. So there's maybe, I don't know, like 30, 40, 50%, or even majority that have that narrative. And then there's the other part of the NFT community within SuperNormal that loves the utility, the benefits, and the rewards that we give them, such as, the priority access to our, future premium collections, our offline activations, as well as the VIP tickets to the events that we host, as well as free airdrops and merchandise, fashion products that we launch, with the usage of SuperNormal's IP. So that's, I think, for us, the meaning of putting community first, which is the number one biggest asset that you can have as an NFT founder.
Love it. Yeah. Okay, so shifting gears here slightly, you run a growth equity fund called Factorial Funds, where you're a general partner, and that's been a part of backing some really interesting companies. So can you tell us a little bit about that work, how that got started, and what's been most interesting about that work?
Yeah, so we're a global asset management firm with a heavy emphasis on late stage growth equity investments, and our flagship fund backs companies pushing the boundaries of innovations across crypto technology and consumer tech, health tech, etc. So we mostly look for breakout technology firms that's gonna make a huge impact across across internet space, such as companies like Confluent, GitLab, Unity, Coinbase pre-IPO, Robinhood pre-IPO, Kraken, Cruise, Toast, Relativity Space, Dapper Labs, etc. Recently, we led a deal. Recently we invested in the parent company of MetaMask called Consensus. So things like that were very late stage growth equity focused, with the mission to coach the companies to their very highest potential.
Love it. Yeah. What's been most surprising in your investing thus far? Where it's been obviously a turbulent 2022. I'm curious what has stood out as most surprising to you from your vantage point.
Yeah, so I mean, we focused on we help visionaries build disruptive companies with focus on technology and crypto. So 2022 was a wild ride with respect to crypto and crypto native companies. So for example, I cannot name the company right now, but I think the most surprising thing was that some of the biggest crypto companies and exchanges that are most sought after, they still have big problems that crypto funds can really help them out, not just with financial investment, but through a operational with tangible hands-on value add. What I mean by that is that not just with investing capital, but Factorial's funds is composed of ex builders and founders. For me, I'm technically a Coinbase and software developer at Microsoft, so I come from the operational background. My partner, he was an ex Cruise, so he's a genius with automotive engineering. AI. So we have this ex builders mindset. So we are able to provide that tangible operational help when they need it. So what I found out was they really appreciate it, and they really need that from their partner, from the companies in their cap table, which is why I think a lot of the big growth equity late stage companies really love us.
Love it. Yeah. So what are you seeing as the most opportunity-rich arenas for investment within Web3 during this current kind of down market?
I think our value proposition and our thesis remains the same. For us, we're a tech and crypto growth equity fund with a large AUM. Our investment criteria is tailored to make to the specific mandate of the fund, which is late stage companies. So I would say our emphasis stays the same, with which is identifying companies that have already achieved significant traction and are poised for substantial growth in the near term. So yeah, I mean, for us, our key areas are, financial metrics, market dominance in crypto, strategic fit in Web3, and then obviously doing a heavy due diligence. So, yeah, I mean, I think the best opportunities come from, looking for contrarian values. Despite investing in late stage companies, I think our fund still adopts that contrarian approach, and we're willing to invest in sectors and technologies that are overlooked by the market in the NFT and crypto and Web3 and DeFi. But have the potential to disrupt the status quo. This includes investing in emerging technologies such as, blockchain protocols, L2, L1 networks, quantum computing, AI, and even health tech.
Super interesting. Okay, Andrew, maybe 2 last questions here. So first question, what would be your most generalizable advice for founders building in kind of crypto world or Web3 space?
It's a cliche, and it's for many, it's an overstated statement, but it's also the most underlooked statement, which is that have that long-term view. Many founders, cannot survive, 1 year mark, 2 year mark. And, they think it's the end of all. But as one of the most successful entrepreneurs said, every overnight success comes, like in one day after like 4 years, 5 or 6 years of, grinding and putting value into the business. So crypto is very early stage. Web3 is still early stage, even though we're 2023. It's still a wild west, meaning that there are opportunities that are still not tackled if you compare it to Web2. For me, it's going to be always, having that consistent cyclic feedback loop with our community, with our users, with our customers, and then not being too anxious about the immediate metrics.
Yep, love it. Okay, Andrew, what are your teams working on right now, and what is the best way for people to follow along on the journey?
So SuperNormal currently ever since we launched back in February, we've been fortunate enough to be positioned the largest and number one top selling NFT brand in Korea, and we have been able to secure some of the largest brand partnerships with some very recognizable Web2 company. And then that's going to be announced in 2023. So I think NFT scene has not seen something like this before. So the best way to get access to this is really just holding some of our SuperNormal NFTs on OpenSea, and then the most short term product launch that we have is Dream Girls by KYE. That's powered by SuperNormal brand, and that's already almost oversubscribed, and it's expected to sell out almost immediately. So if anybody is interested in that, the best way to get involved is by owning some SuperNormal NFTs on OpenSea, and that gives you automatic exclusive access to all the future products that we have. Not just across NFTs, but also across Atelier, Metaverse editions, as well as Couture. So, yeah, the best way is just on our Twitter, search SuperNormal NFT, or on Google SuperNormal.
Love it. Andrew, thank you so much for the time. Super interesting, great insights, and really excited to see the progress over the coming year. So have a great upcoming weekend, and thanks again for the time.
Thanks so much, Tanner.